Some women look perfect on paper, confident, warm, and almost too smooth, but your gut whispers something's off. If you ignore that whisper, you might spend years paying the price in silence. Today, we talk patterns, not gossip. Truth, not drama. Welcome to Olivia Rose. Here we speak about relationships with clean honesty and real respect. If you're new here, hit subscribe, tap the bell, and tell me in the comments, what's one small sign you ignored that later became a big problem? Your story might save someone tonight. 1. She's too comfortable with intimacy too soon. Ever meet a woman and within hours she's already crossing lines that normally take weeks, maybe months to build? I'm not talking about just flirting. I mean sitting close, touching your arm like it's nothing, dropping bold jokes about intimacy as if you two have known each other for years. For a lot of men, this feels like a jackpot. They think, wow, she's so confident. She must really be into me. But here's the harsh truth. It's often not confidence at all. It's conditioning. A healthy woman usually has a natural pause before she lets someone in, not because she's playing hard to get or because she's old-fashioned, but because she values intimacy. She knows it carries weight. There's a barrier there, and it's not negative. It's a sign of respect for herself and for what intimacy means. But when you meet someone who seems to have no barrier at all, it could be that those walls have been broken down over and over. At some point, the lock doesn't protect anything anymore. Think about it like this. Imagine a door that's been forced open too many times. At first, the lock matters. Over time, with constant use and little care, the lock just dangles there, symbolic but not functional. That's what happens when someone's been in repeated high-intensity encounters without emotional bonds attached. The sacredness fades. Intimacy becomes mechanical, something to do, not something to feel. And here's where men fall into the trap. They mistake this ease for chemistry. They think the sparks are stronger because she isn't shy. But what feels like connection is often repetition. She knows the rhythm. She knows when to laugh, when to lean in, how to touch in a way that makes you feel chosen. But that script has been played before with other men. You're not experiencing something rare. You're experiencing muscle memory. Now, does this mean every woman who's open quickly is a red flag? No, but the signs stack up. Pay attention to her body language. Does she blush when conversations turn intimate? Does she hesitate, process, and slowly open up? That's a sign she values the moment. Or does she slide through these stages like she's done it countless times before? If it feels like routine, that's because it probably is. The danger for you? You'll invest emotions into something that was never rare for her in the first place. You'll believe this instant comfort means destiny, when really it's just her default mode. And once intimacy loses its emotional weight, it's almost impossible to restore it. You cannot recreate the magic of firsts with someone who no longer treats them as rare. So remember this. Instant intimacy isn't always passion. Sometimes it's proof that the line doesn't exist anymore. And if there's no line, you need to ask yourself, what exactly are you building with her? 2. She carries a permanent emotional wall. At first glance, she seems open. She laughs with you, shares funny stories, maybe even talks about a tough time from her past. You sit across from her thinking, wow, she's real, she's deep. But there's something strange. You feel close, yet not really close. Like she's handing you pieces of herself, but not the whole picture. That's what I call the permanent emotional wall. Here's the difference. Boundaries are healthy. They protect both people while building trust slowly. But a wall is different. A wall is not meant to guide. It's meant to block. This wall gets built brick by brick through years of heartbreak, betrayals, disappointments, and short-term connections that left scars. And once it's up, very few people ever get past it. She might let you feel like you're inside, but you're only in the lobby. You don't get access to the deeper rooms where her real self lives. She's mastered the art of keeping things surface level while making it look like intimacy. You share your struggles, your past, your goals. She listens. She nods. Maybe she even comforts you. But when it's her turn to open up, she dodges. She makes a joke. She uses cliches. She changes the subject without you realizing. And here's the trap. You start giving more while receiving less because you believe she just needs more time, more patience, more of your effort. But in reality, she has no intention of ever tearing that wall down. Why? Because in her experience, opening up only led to pain, so she chooses safety over closeness. Over time, this imbalance drains you. You'll feel like you're carrying the relationship emotionally, and when conflict comes, as it always does, her wall hardens. Instead of working through problems, she shuts down, pulls away, maybe even disappears. It's not that she doesn't care, it's that caring too much terrifies her. What makes this dangerous is how subtle it is. You won't see obvious red flags. She'll smile, she'll share enough to keep you hooked, she'll act affectionate, but deep inside, she's unavailable. And being with someone emotionally unavailable is like pouring water into a glass with a hole at the bottom. No matter how much you give, it never fills. So pay attention. If months pass and you still feel like you don't truly know her, if you sense she's keeping you at arm's length even while holding your hand, you're not imagining it. That's the wall, and no amount of your effort will tear it down unless she chooses to. Remember, you deserve someone who doesn't just let you peek through the window, but actually opens the door, because love is not about looking in, it's about being invited inside. 3. She has an overcrowded male network. You've probably heard it before. They're just friends. And sometimes that's true. But when a woman's circle is filled mostly with men, when her phone buzzes with messages from male friends at all hours, when every story she tells includes another guy you've never met, that's not coincidence. That's a pattern. Why does this matter? Because often it's not about friendship, it's about validation. Every message, every call, every late night, "What are you doing?" text is like a hit of reassurance. I'm wanted, I'm attractive, I matter. And once someone gets used to that constant stream of attention, it's hard to give it up. Look at the details. Does she keep in touch with multiple exes? Does she call guys just friends, even though you can sense those men would take things further in a heartbeat? Does she brush off your concerns with, "Oh, he's harmless"? Because harmless men don't text at midnight. Harmless men don't suddenly reappear when you're out of town. Another sign? She struggles to maintain close friendships with women. Why? Because female friendships demand emotional depth and reciprocity. They require openness, accountability, and consistency. But male friendships are easier to keep surface level. They offer attention without requiring emotional vulnerability. And for someone addicted to that validation, it's the perfect setup. The danger here is subtle. You may never catch her crossing the line, but you'll always feel like you're competing with shadows. Like there's a lineup of men in the background waiting for their chance. That tension eats at trust, and trust is the foundation of everything. Here's the brutal part. Many men ignore this sign because they don't want to seem controlling. They tell themselves, "I should be secure enough not to worry." But there's a difference between being insecure and being observant. Seeing patterns doesn't make you weak, it makes you wise. And if you choose to ignore it, here's what happens. The moment your relationship hits trouble, replacements are ready. She doesn't need to be alone. She doesn't need to heal. She just promotes someone from the orbit. You think you're special, but in reality, you're just another option in rotation. So watch closely. If her male network looks more like a fan club than a circle of genuine friendships, ask yourself if you're comfortable being one of many, because love can't grow in a crowd. It grows when two people clear the noise and give each other real focus. 4. She uses intimacy as currency. This one is subtle. You won't notice it at first because it feels good in the moment. Let's say you have a disagreement. Maybe you said no to something she wanted. Maybe you confronted her about a lie. Maybe you just stood your ground. Suddenly her mood shifts. She softens, becomes affectionate, even seductive. And in a flash, the tension between you seems to disappear. You think, "Wow, she really loves me. Look how quickly we bounced back." But you're missing the truth. You didn't solve the problem. You just paid it off. See, for some women, intimacy isn't connection, it's leverage. It's not something they give, it's something they trade. When they want forgiveness, when they want a favor, when they want silence, they use affection as a shortcut. And on the flip side, when they're upset, when they want to punish you, when they need to make a point, they withhold it. Not because they're genuinely not in the mood, but because they know it gets under your skin. That's not intimacy. That's manipulation. This is learned behavior. Women who've gone through multiple short, intense relationships figure out quickly what works to gain control. And nothing works faster than physical closeness. It bypasses your logic, taps straight into your biology, and convinces you everything is okay, even when it's not. The key is timing. Ask yourself, Is her affection consistent? Does it show up on ordinary days, in quiet moments, in silly times where nothing's at stake? Or does it only appear when she wants something or vanish when she's upset? If the flow and drought of intimacy always matches her agenda, you're not in a relationship, you're in a negotiation. The danger here is deep, because once intimacy becomes transactional, love turns into business. You're not being loved for who you are. You're being rewarded for compliance. And the more you play along, the more she learns that this strategy works, until one day you wake up and realize that closeness isn't about connection anymore, it's about control. So don't ignore this. If intimacy always feels like a tool rather than a gift, you're not experiencing love. You're just paying an emotional tax you didn't agree to, and the longer you stay, the higher that price becomes. 5. She has mastered the art of reading and controlling men. There's a huge difference between a woman who understands men and a woman who studies them. The first is natural empathy. She notices details, she's intuitive, she cares. The second is practice, and practice comes from experience. A lot of it. When a woman has been in multiple relationships with different types of men, she starts to see patterns. She knows what makes men feel strong and what makes them insecure. She knows how to compliment in a way that hits your ego perfectly and how to criticize in a way that cuts just deep enough to make you doubt yourself. It feels like magic at first. She notices things most people miss, the way you carry yourself, how you think, the words you use. She makes you feel seen, and men, let's be honest, we crave that. But here's where the trap begins. Genuine understanding develops slowly. You open up, she learns more, she responds. That's healthy. But when someone instantly seems to get you from day one, you're not experiencing intimacy, you're experiencing skill. She studied men enough to know which buttons to push. At first, you'll feel like a king. She praises the right things. She admires your ambition, your confidence, even the little quirks you didn't think anyone noticed. But later, when she wants control, she flips it. Suddenly she pokes at your weak spots, makes you question yourself, leaves you craving her reassurance. And just like that, she pulls the strings. This emotional roller coaster becomes addictive. The highs feel euphoric. The lows make you chase harder. You think, this must be passion, this must be love, but it's not. It's conditioning. You're being trained to respond to her cues. 1 minute you're her hero, the next you're desperate to win her back. And that cycle keeps you hooked. The scary part? It's hard to see while you're inside it, because every high convinces you the connection is real, and every low makes you fight harder to prove yourself. But once you step back, you'll notice the pattern. It's not love, it's control. So ask yourself, does she make you feel stable, calm, grounded? Or does she make you feel like you're constantly trying to earn her approval? If it's the second, you're not being loved. You're being managed. And the more you allow it, the tighter her control becomes. 6. She has no shame or discretion about her past. Let's be clear, no one expects perfection. Everyone has a past. But the way someone speaks about that past tells you everything about how they value intimacy. A woman with discretion protects certain memories, not because she's ashamed, but because she respects their weight. A woman without discretion, she shares everything casually, like she's talking about last weekend's grocery list. You'll notice it quickly. She brings up exes openly, talks about the number of men she's been with as if it's an achievement, maybe even throws in detailed stories vivid enough to make you uncomfortable. And the strange part, she frames it like a positive, as if her experience is proof of her value. But here's the truth. When something intimate happens enough times, it loses its sacredness. What should feel rare becomes routine. And once it's routine, it's no longer private. That lack of discretion doesn't just apply to her past. It spills into the present. If she casually shares details about her old relationships, what's stopping her from sharing details about you with others? Now, ask yourself this. When you bring up her past, does she answer honestly? Or does she flip the script and accuse you of being insecure, jealous, or old-fashioned? That's not strength, that's deflection. A refusal to acknowledge that intimacy carries weight and how she treats it matters. The danger here is trust. When the boundary between private and public is thin, you can never fully relax. You'll always wonder what parts of your relationship are being broadcasted, even casually, to others. That unease eats away at the bond you're trying to build. Understand this: discretion is not about hiding, it's about valuing. If she sees no reason to protect the details of her past, she won't see a reason to protect what you share with her now. And love without protection isn't love, it's exposure. 7. She has a history of short-term relationships. At first glance, this one doesn't look like a big deal. People date, sometimes it doesn't work out. But when every single relationship in her past follows the same script, quick attraction, fast escalation, sudden collapse, you're not looking at random chance. You're looking at a blueprint. She'll tell you the stories. Each time it ended because of timing, circumstances, or because the other guy just wasn't the right one. Rarely will she admit her own patterns. But the truth is simple. Lasting love requires staying power. It's not built in the honeymoon phase when everything feels magical. It's forged later, when conflicts show up, when boredom creeps in, when life tests you both. That's the stage that builds depth. And if she's never reached that stage, she's never developed the tools to survive it. What does this look like in practice? A constant craving for the newness, the butterflies, the endless texts, the rush of being desired. That's addictive. But just like any high, it fades. And when it fades, she doesn't lean in. She looks for her next fix. Here's the brutal truth. If she's never had a relationship last beyond a few months, that's not bad luck. It's a pattern, a cycle she's repeating without even realizing. And if you step in thinking you'll be the exception, odds are you'll just be another chapter in the same short story. Why does this matter to you? Because love is not about starting strong. It's about continuing steady. If she hasn't proven she can go the distance, you're betting your heart on untested ground. And when things get hard, and they will, you might find out the hard way that she doesn't know how to stay. So don't just listen to her words about the past. Look at the timeline. Look at the patterns. If every story ends before real challenges ever begin, understand that your story with her may end the same way. Unless she's done the inner work, the cycle will continue. And you deserve more than being someone's temporary high. Now take a step back and think about what we've just gone through. 7 signs, 7 patterns. On the surface, they may look like random quirks, just parts of her personality, but when you line them up together, they tell a bigger story, a story about her history, her choices, and the way those choices shape the way she loves or doesn't love. This isn't about pointing fingers. It's not about shaming women for having a past. Everybody has a past. You have one, I have one, she has one. That's life. But here's the truth too many men avoid. Patterns repeat. If a woman hasn't worked through her cycles, if she hasn't confronted the habits that keep sabotaging her relationships, then you will inherit them. It won't matter how much you love her, how patient you are, how hard you try. If she's still living by her old blueprint, you'll just be another chapter written with the same pen. So what does this mean for you? It means you have to pay attention, not with paranoia, not with judgment, but with awareness. Watch how she handles intimacy. Notice how she speaks about her past. Look at the balance of who gives and who takes. Don't get blinded by charm or chemistry or the thrill of being chosen, because many men only realize the truth when it's too late, after years of energy, trust, and respect have already been drained. You deserve to be in a relationship where intimacy feels sacred, not casual, where affection is love, not currency, where you're not competing with a crowd of men in the background, where passion doesn't come with strings attached, and where her past doesn't constantly bleed into your present. Most of all, you deserve a relationship where stability is possible, because she's proven through her actions that she knows how to stay. The hardest part? Accepting that sometimes, no matter how much you want her, she's not ready for the kind of love you're ready to give. That's not weakness, that's wisdom. Walking away doesn't mean you failed, it means you respected yourself enough not to settle for less than real love. And let me say this clearly. If you've seen these signs before, or if you're living them right now, share your story in the comments. Your voice might be the mirror another man needs to wake up. Don't hold back. Your honesty could save someone else years of pain. Now, if this video gave you clarity, hit that like button so YouTube knows men out there are hungry for the truth. Subscribe to Olivia Rose and turn on the notification bell, because every week we talk about the hidden psychology of relationships, the stuff nobody else dares to tell you. And if you really want to stay 2 steps ahead, share this with a friend who's in a situation that feels too good to be true. Because remember, love should feel safe, rare, and honest. If it feels like a cycle, it probably is. Protect your standards, guard your future, And never forget, you teach people how to treat you by what you accept. Choose wisely.